Woody Page, Courtney Cronin, Harry Lyles Jr., Kevin Clark, the New York Knicks, the man Copas. Mea Copas, Euro Copas, this whole entire playoff Copas. But pace yourselves. And tonight, the highly anticipated preseason debut of Caitlin Clark. Yell it out. Over under 15 points. Over under 20 points. Over. Nobody's saying 30, are they?
Push.
I'm sticking at 20.
Not quite. We'll get to that in a second. We start with some news of the day, news of the moment. Maybe you expected it. Los Angeles Lakers making it official this afternoon. Moving on from Darvin Ham. Per an athletic report from Shams Charania and Yovan Bua, the immediate list of candidates: Mike Budenholzer, Kenny Atkinson, J.J. Redick, and Tyronn Lue, who alone coaches another team tonight. But yes, he's on the list as well. Woody Page, I don't need to say any more. How'd you hear the news today?
Well, earlier today, I heard it from an ESPN alert, but I'm telling you, it wasn't any surprise after they lost that final game to the Nuggets. I felt like he was out the door soon, and he becomes the latest sacrificial ham out in Los Angeles.
Oh,
and I think his successor is
Woody
already.
Page. How does he do it? Oh, man. Okay, please, go ahead.
I think his successor is already in the same building with him. I think that he just moves down to another office, and they're going to do their best, I think, to get Lue to come over to the Lakers. And I don't think that's going to happen, though. But I think that, as I said, he was in trouble when he didn't win in the first round this year, and he had an opportunity, and people were actually picking the Lakers to beat the Nuggets. And I'm not being a homer there, so don't come up with that new symbol that you got. You can show it to me if you want to. But, however, I think that this decision was not made in the front office. I think it was made by players on that team, and that would be two people. LeBron James, if you want me to come back, you better get rid of the coach. And I think AD had already indicated during that series with the Nuggets, he didn't like the coaching on the team. So I think those two guys, who are their future still, I believe made the
Courtney
decision.
Cronin, how'd you hear the news today? Lakers moving on from Ham.
That the player LeBron James, the coach LeBron James, and the GM LeBron James now has, I believe, his sixth head coach fired. Everybody from Paul Silas to Frank Vogel, now to Darvin Ham. This was cemented the moment that they didn't challenge that out-of-bounds call on LeBron the other night, and he was irate. And Darvin Ham is just sitting there, standing there on the sideline, hands in his pockets. You could just tell that the writing was on the wall. And this felt like this all season. We had heard about the discontent in the locker room with Darvin Ham and some of the decisions that he had with the lineups. Like, he's calling Austin Reeves in a potential all-star in the preseason, yet the guy's on the bench a lot. Rui Hachimura's minutes vacillated in between games, and who knows what happened with the role that he had planned for D'Angelo Russell. But this felt like a long time coming, and it took all till Friday at 2 p.m. for it to happen.
Harry Lyles Jr., did you see this as an expected move that was a long time coming? Or, opposite side, this Lakers team lost to the champs last year and the team that many think will be the champions this year?
Expected, unfortunately. I mean, Courtney mentioned the list of coaches that have previously gotten fired when LeBron James was on the team. This was an impossible job for Darvin Ham to have. One, because he is putting himself in that line of fire, but also you are the coach that is in that position when LeBron knows he's running out of time. So if you're not perfect, you are going to go. So it felt like it was only a matter of time. I thought Darvin Ham did a pretty dang good job. Like last season, the fact that they made the Western Conference Finals was an accomplishment in and of itself. The fact that they gave the Nuggets like a pretty good run, considering I think for months we have all tried to talk ourselves into, well, can the Lakers do what they did last year again? And the answer has always been no, but because they did it, and because LeBron James was on the team, because Anthony Davis was good, they thought they could do it again. But now we're in a position to where they could not make the moves they made last year, and now they are this offseason, but Darvin Ham's not going to be around to benefit off of that. I just feels like this was a situation that he was set up to fail in.
Kevin Clark.
Yeah, to me, this roster was not good enough to compete in the Western Conference, but that doesn't matter. When you are coaching LeBron James, life is unfair. You're coaching to an audience of one. To me, it's not a coincidence that J.J. Redick is on this list. It's a bunch of coaches who have been there before, and J.J. Redick, who's a podcaster with LeBron James. There's basketball chemistry there. They're sitting around for hours at a time drinking wine and talking ball. I can see the vision here. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the pathway they go.
News of the day, Lakers moving on from Darvin Ham. We move on now to the New York Knicks. They demand your first response. And I'll give you guys free tickets on the panel if you're the first responders. When they signed Brunson, it was harumphed. When they started hot, it was minutes policed. When they lost Randall for the year, it was gloomed. But the way this team slugs. Knicks 118, Sixers 115 to close out. Brunson 41, huge. But the pass to Hart, his 12th assist of the game, was what sealed this one. Kevin Clark. You find yourself believing in these Knicks. How far can they go?
They can go to the finals. There are miracle workers and there are franchise players, and Jalen Brunson is closer to being a miracle worker. Because we're not even talking about the Knicks' long-standing cultural issues. We're talking about a city that believes. That's important to me. There are only 3 players in NBA history who've had 4 straight games in the playoffs of 35 points and 5 assists. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Jalen Brunson. That's what matters here. They can go as far as he takes them. This is a special run by a special player and a special team.
I thought when you said finals, I just assumed Eastern Conference Finals. This is what happens when you assume. And for the man
NBA
in New York
Finals
to be making that argument, that's what Woody was talking about before. There it is, the Homer graphic. Harry Lyles Jr. Do you see this Knicks team as a legit contender to make the finals now and come out of the East?
As much as I would like to go that far, I think at the very least they're going to give the Celtics a difficult time in the Eastern Conference Finals. And it is all because of Jalen Brunson. Kevin mentioned a lot of the offensive statistics that he has had, and that has been impressive. But the other thing for me that makes them such a team that he could carry far is because they are better through his scoring. They are averaging a 58% shooting on 95 of his passes, in the last series. But also, he's got that fearlessness that you need out of your leader. Like in the fourth quarter of that game last night when he was knocking down every shot, he was looking into the crowd like, hey, I appreciate you guys for keeping the Knicks fans out of here tonight because I want you all to be in attendance for when I send your team home. So to me, he is the type of guy that I know Becky Hammon caught some flack for saying that you can't have a smaller guard be your leader. He is proof that you can.
Courtney Cronin, how do you view this Knicks team now?
I said Eastern Conference Finals was their ceiling, but I'll go ahead and up the ante there and say that they have an absolute shot to make the NBA Finals. What I love about Jalen Brunson is that he's giving this organization and this team hope that they have not had. And I'll go as far to say that I think he's the best free agent signing that the Knicks have ever had. Better than Allen Houston, more important than John Starks, than Julius Randle, because of what he's doing to galvanize the rest of that team. Remember, the core of this group won championships together at Villanova, not too far from where they played last night at the Wells Fargo Center. And it's through Jalen Brunson's scoring, but also through his facilitating to Josh Hart, to Dante DiVincenzo, that has this team coming out of this series with a 1-point differential in terms of scoring because of how close these games were. Sometimes it's your leader at the end of that you're looking at saying that's what tipped the scale in our favor.
And Woody Page.
I totally believe in the Knicks for another 2 weeks. Then they're going to go away quietly when they play the Boston Celtics. I mean, the Boston Celtics lost last year when they felt like they belonged as the NBA champions. They're not going to let another team like Miami beat them this year. The Knicks haven't been there in so many years, and they got to go up against the best team, not maybe, the best team in the NBA all season. And you'd think they're going to go in and beat the Celtics and get to the finals? That's not happening whatsoever.
Harry Lyles, I'll bring you back in.
Tony, the only counter I have, Woody, for your point about they're not going to lose to another team like the Miami Heat. Hey, man, this is a Knicks team that has similar bite that Miami had last year, and Boston has shown that they can get bitten. So that's why I still give them a chance.
Philadelphia, going out in the first round. The what now for the Sixers? You can say, of course, it's a failure to go out in the first round. Whether Embiid's injuries and Hart playing through have you considering that slightly differently. But as they look for this offseason now to build up again, let me ask this. Is framing the team around Embiid still the best play, or could the rise of Maxey pivot that decision, and then also free agency. We've already heard some names: Jimmy Butler, Paul George, who although is still playing in the playoffs. Would that be the best move? Around the horn, Courtney Cronin on the Sixers.
Yes, it's the best move to continue to build around Joel Embiid, whose numbers this season were better than his MVP season. I think it's disingenuous to say that Tyrese Maxey should be the face of your franchise and you should go ahead and trade away Joel Embiid. He's too good. Yes, he's too injured, but let's take this back to the Knicks. What works so well for them? They're a true five-man unit, not a two-man team that's surrounded by a bunch of inconsistency. And what we saw last night, the bench able to score 42 points. They haven't been able to do that much this series, but nothing from Tobias Harris. Thank goodness that experiment is over, and Kyle Lowry had no contributions there. So if you're a team with the second most cap space in the NBA like they are, you have a very active and enticing offseason. And make sure to keep checking in there on Jimmy Butler, see if he wants to come back.
Woody Page?
In addition, Courtney, to the fact that their cap space could be almost $60 million, 5 tradable first-round draft choices. And I think Joel Embiid should not be traded. Finish this process. It started 12 years ago. But however, I think he said the most interesting quote after the game when he said, "We need to be like the Denver Nuggets. We need to be together 5 or 6 years." In order for that to happen, they have got to not surround themselves with one more superstar like a Harden. They need to go out and get help all around to make sure that he can get to the finals, or at least get to the conference finals for once.
Kevin Clark.
Yeah, classic good news, bad news for the Sixers. Bad news is their season is over. The good news is they've ended Tobias Harris's Sixers career, because that is the biggest question going into this offseason. What do you do with another max contract slot, which thankfully, mercifully, will not be held by Tobias Harris? They're going to have they're monitoring Jimmy Butler, monitoring being the media word for tampering, wink, wink. OG is out there. Paul George is out there. There are names they're going to want to come to Philadelphia to play with Joel Embiid and Maxey to be a contender immediately and make a bunch of money.
So you feel the window's wide open and the future can be bright for this Sixers team. Harry Lyles, you feel the same way?
Without a doubt.
Obviously, the big caveat is always going to be if Joel Embiid is healthy, and the reason that you stick with him and you try to do that is because when you see that he's healthy, he's one of the 3 best players in the NBA. So you keep him, you obviously keep Tyrese Maxey, and you build an actual team with structure around these 2 guys. If you have watched the Philadelphia 76ers the last week and a half, there's no structure to this team. Buddy Hield randomly was their shooter in the last game. Nick Batum has been spotty on defense, good games, bad games, this, that, and third. You have to have actual role players. Like, they're not role players because they're not superstars. They're role players because they play defense, because they're a spot-up shooter, because they could play below the rim and protect it. Like, this team has no structure at all.
Right, but in the free agency class, it seems like the majority, as it usually is, are players who are maybe on the mountain, maybe at the top, maybe on the Paul George and Jimmy Butler on the other side of the mountain. Is that still a feasible play for them when you already have Embiid in his 30s now going forward? We'll take a break. That question's got a few months before we answer that. Fire sells next.
Welcome back to Around the Horn, coming to you from the Seaport. Brought to you by Grey Goose.
How the Toronto Maple Leafs have come back to life without Austin Matthews as buy or sell one. And the Bruins, are they seeing ghosts from previous playoff collapses? The Nylander game last night, Toronto 2, Boston 1. There will be 7 now tomorrow in Beantown. Irresistible force, immovable object paradox, because both these teams have postseason woes. Boston in the rear view recently, and Toronto for decades. Woody, what does Game 6 have you expecting in Game 7 tomorrow?
Well, I think a rookie goaltender in the 7th game is going to have a problem. That's what immediately hits my mind. But secondly, Toronto is 1 for 20 on the power play. If that continues, Boston's going to run away with this game, because I don't think Boston wants to repeat what happened last year.
No, of course they do not want. It is not their desire. They're not yearning to lose a series that they were up 3-1. I'm asking if the ghost that they may be feeling about last year's collapse or Toronto's in the history might play out into Game 7. Courtney, to you.
Yeah, it's a lot of ghosts for Toronto. Fourth time they will have a Game 7 in Boston in the last 11 years. So I don't know if I like their odds. I know that Sheldon Keefe said it felt like they've already played 2 Game 7s already in elimination factor. So I hope that they're ready for this one. But this is going to be another big game for William Nylander. He doesn't score a lot up until this point, but 7 goals in elimination games in his career. I like his chances.
Harry Lyles Jr.
Couple of teams that struggle in games where there are a lot of stakes. If you are at home betting on this one, call the number on your screen. Anyway, I do think that I am going to go with the less of the most recently spooked teams, which would be the Toronto Maple Leafs, which again does not feel great picking them, but I'm going to do it because Boston literally did this last year where they were up 3-1, they blew a lead. I think that Toronto is going to get it done, even though, again, don't feel great about it.
Evan Clark.
No team in history in any of the major sports has blown 3-1 leads in back-to-back seasons. Never happened. In the last 6 potential series-clinching games, the Bruins are not only 0-for-6, an 88% save percentage, that's bad, and they've only led in 5% of those games. This is real bad. I like the Maple Leafs here. Both teams need to exercise their demons.
Okay. I wasn't following you, though. You said no team has ever blown 3-1 back-to-back years, which made me think you were going to say they can't do it. No one's ever done it before. But you think it's that bad.
If anyone can, it's the Boston Bruins.
There it is. We'll move on. Buy or sell to Caitlin Clark's preseason debut tonight. Some notable preseason debuts in WNBA history. Taurasi, 12 points, 3 rebounds. Parker, 14, 8, and 8. Stewart, 11 and 8. Asia Wilson had 20 points. So I heard some people say 25-30. Is that setting the bar too high? The anticipation for this is through the roof. And again, this greater debate, her takeover for the league. Will it happen immediate? Will it happen at all? Will there be growth that she needs to make while playing against pros? Courtney Cronin, it's an exhibition tonight, but what to expect?
I know a lot of people think that she's just going to be taking logo 3 after logo 3, but she has more accomplished people that she's going to be passing the ball to, like Aaliyah Boston. She doesn't have to have the offense run through her the way that we became so conditioned to seeing at Iowa. So I do think she'll get her shots tonight. I said over 20 points, and I will stick with that. But I don't think it's going to be the Caitlin Clark show because it doesn't have to be with how much more talent she has.
Harry Lyles Jr.?
Yes, Courtney hit the nail on the head. She does not just shoot cartoonishly long 3-pointers. She is also, she was top 5 in defensive rebounds in college basketball last year as a guard, and she also had 93 more assists than the second-place person, who was Nika Mule. So, like, she does everything, and she is playing with better players around her. I think you'll see her get like 16 to 18 points and maybe like 7 or 8 assists because, again, she does not have to go out there and gun it. It's not going to be like that with the Indiana Fever, but I think she is much more of a glue piece than people are going to give her credit for.
Clark?
It's interesting. I was looking at Kelsey Plum's game log. She was obviously the former high scorer in the NCAA before Caitlin Clark. She had 19 in her preseason debut and then didn't get 19 until her 24th regular season game. So I think there'll be some points tonight, but I think there will be an adjustment. This is about her learning the pace and space of the pro game. I think she'll get it. I think there'll be sustained scoring, but it's not going to be Iowa immediately. I think we're going to have to give her a little patience.
Woody Page.
There were so many comparisons to Pete Maravich, and I saw him come into the league, and he had to start out slowly because his own players on the Atlanta team didn't like him. I think this is going to be better than that. I think she has a double-double. She's going to be good, I think, with the assist as everybody's talked about, and I think she's not going to shoot as many shots, and they're going to be a better percentage of shots.
Wait. Lean back for a second. I'm seeing some. Are you wearing an around the horn shirt on?
I'll be selling them out.
I love this. You know, sometimes you hear people say, "Oh, you're wearing the T-shirt of the band to the concert." You're in the band, and you're wearing the band T-shirt to the concert. I've seen the Rolling Stones do that. Cronin, Lyles. That'll be our showdown next. Pacers 120, Bucks 98. How Indiana came together this year is a story that we will talk about quite a bit, but not right now, because the Milwaukee Bucks and how they flatlined. I know you can tell me Giannis was injured in this series, but this was broken for months upon months. Courtney, where did it most go wrong with these Bucks?
How much time do I have? The Giannis injury, moving out Drew Holiday for Damian Lillard, and that cohesion not coming together. Firing a coach that had won 70% of his games before he got axed, and then making the panic move at the trade deadline to get Pat Beverly to fix your transition defense. It didn't really work. I'm out of time now. Sorry.
Okay, Harry Lyles, can you focus on one thing? Where did it most go wrong? What has the lion's share?
Is the front office, because everything beneath them has failed because they fired a head coach. Giannis has not been happy. This roster construction is terrible. Like, this is a team that has a superstar that had one of the 5 best final performances of all time, and now it looks like they're not going to have anything to show for it.
You believe their window's closed, Harry?
Yeah, I do.
Courtney?
With everything going out on West and some of the teams that
I think it's shrinking. I don't think it's fully closed.
Closed either. If you got Point Cronin. Showdown 2. NBA Game 6 is tonight. Cavs and Mavs hoping to close out. Clippers and Magic trying to survive. Harry, who has the best chance of survival tonight?
It's Kevin Clark's Orlando Magic. This is a young team, and young teams always feed off of the energy of a home crowd. They're going to be going bonkers. The Clippers, they're done. They got fried. They're cooked.
It's the Orlando Magic. It's not a great sign for the Cavs that their 2 stars are minus 33 when they're on the floor together in the series. They've already lost 2 games in Orlando by a combined 61 points. The Cavs are toast.
Courtney Cronin will enjoy 30 seconds of FaceTime today.
A moment of appreciation for Melinda Adams, the well-respected longtime ESPN producer who was rudely told by Pat Beverly in the Bucks locker room yesterday that she could not ask him a question because she did not subscribe to his podcast. You can see a photo of us there at the NFL draft last week. Melinda is the epitome of grace, of class, and of patience, something that Patrick Beverly could learn a lot from in being around Melinda. Kudos to her in teaching us that kindness goes a very long way.
Thank you for that, Courtney, and I appreciate the focus there being on Melinda. Horses running fast this weekend, Woody. You have picked the Derby. 17 of the 21 years on the show. I didn't say accurately, I just said pick. Who you got?
The winner has in ears fierceness.
There it is from the man wearing the shirt of the show he's on.